So when it comes to Spirit Friday, I've said it time and time again that this is the place we learn, this is a place we talk about spirituality, this is a place we grow, this is a place we hear the things that would help us build our spirituality. The problem for so many centuries now is because, many people had left the responsibility of spirituality in the hands of just one person, one leader, one somebody. And oftentimes this person becomes corrupt with time and tends to walk arrogantly, or in a sense feel untouchable in a way, because the entire community or the entire society have left spirituality totally to their care. And when people understand that so much power is entrusted to them, they with time begin to abuse it. That is why it's very necessary that you wake up spiritually and you pick up your spiritual mandate, so that with time you will come into a place where spirituality, and I say this, or spirituality, not religiosity, not tradition, not custom, but spirituality. Because one thing you got to know is that spirituality is alive all the time. Spirituality is breathing all the time, and spirituality is calling you to a higher place. Welcome to Spirit Friday.
Repeat after me, and I'll tell you when to begin. Once more, we as African people are gathered here together. This is our oath to our ancestors. Repeat after me. Oh ancestors.
Oh ancestors.
Blacker than 1,000 midnights.
Blacker than 1,000 midnights.
African ancestors.
African ancestors.
It is you that we, your children, give respect and honor.
It is we, your children, give respect and honor.
Oh ancestors.
Oh ancestors.
We call upon you and welcome you to this place.
We call upon you and welcome you to this place.
African ancestors.
African ancestors.
Let your presence fill this space.
Let your presence fill this space.
All ancestors.
Oh ancestors.
Who have been purposely excluded from the history books.
Who have purposely excluded our African ancestors.
Who gave music to the world.
Who gave music to the world.
Our African ancestors.
Our African ancestors.
Who gave sciences to the world.
Who gave sciences to the world.
Our African ancestors.
Our African ancestors.
Who gave mathematics to the world.
Who gave mathematics to the world.
Our African ancestors.
Our African ancestors.
Who gave medicine to the world.
Who gave medicine to the world.
Our African ancestors.
Our African ancestors.
Who gave literature to the world.
Who gave literature to the world.
Our African ancestors.
Our African ancestors.
Who gave philosophy to the world.
Who gave philosophy to the world.
Our African ancestors.
Our African ancestors.
We thank you for devoting your life.
We thank you for devoting your life
to make a future for us.
to make a future for us.
Your children.
Your children.
Your grandchildren.
Your grandchildren.
Your great-grandchildren.
Your great-grandchildren.
And those yet unborn.
And those yet unborn.
Now stand with us.
Now stand with us.
Strengthen us.
Strengthen us.
Guide us.
Guide us.
Teach us.
Teach us.
And protect us from the snare of our enemies.
And protect us from the snare of our enemies.
Rise up.
Rise up.
Oh, African ancestors.
Oh, African ancestors.
And let our enemies be scattered.
And let our enemies be scattered.
And give us the wisdom.
And give us the wisdom.
And the boldness.
And the boldness.
To deal with our oppressors.
To deal with our oppressors.
And those who would hinder the liberation.
And those who would hinder the liberation.
And empowerment of your people.
And the empowerment of your people.
Rise up, O African ancestors. Rise up, O African ancestors.
Rise up, O African ancestors.
And live in us.
And live in us.
And we will not fail to honor you.
And we will not fail to honor you.
We will not fail to respect you.
We will not fail to respect you.
We will not fail to hear you.
We will not fail to hear you.
And we will not betray you.
And we will not betray you.
Ashe.
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 Odumankuma, 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 Yechra wonsa papa. Asase ya mame, jinsa, insane. Asase ya mame, insane. Asase ya mame, insane. Asase ya mame, insane. Osre to me na wobo wiase ho ban. Insane. Asase to me na wobo wiase ho ban, insane. Nsumu to me, sumo, inso oda su, inso oda asase, insane. Eje wiase to me. Nsani esi wonsani o ajo wonsani abene wonsani auku wonsani ya wonsani efi wonsani amen 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 wonsani nananuma when you won baby parko ya ma wonsa nanan frama wonsani o nanan frama wonsani nanan frama wonsani na ofe jahima wonsani na ofe jahima wonsani na hofe ejahima wonsani tuma when you won baby akọ nananum when you baby akọ nananum when you baby pa akọtena ya ma on nsan wi abre so for pain na noche insani mina na bayin bedu bonsu mama onsa mina na bayin jetua ya ma onsa so for pain chumesi ya ma onsa Captain, da, mama onsa. Auntie Maggie, Nana Boze, mama onsa. Mpanyinfo a woze busua nyina ni. Akan mma busua nyina ni me mama onsa. Nana wanjensa. Nana manma wo hwen, nana ma wo hwen, nana ma wo kan yan ho, nana ma wo bon yan ho ban. Nanan ma wozi na yim nanan ma wakyerɛ yan kwan na yan fado yes insane tuma wakan yan ho mo yan ye dwuma nyina insane wanjensa melinated truth abusia da wana so melinated truth abusia da wana so city of Yahweh abusia da wana so yes o da na se da fi nyina waka yan ho yan na bodu pepɛ so ye bodu da pembia so ye fro no wagye ando yes ye da ase yesre nkwaje yesre nkwatsen yesre nkwa mobi biara ohwe dwumadi yesre ayaresa bambo tum yesre akwamboi yesre do bi biara odine fidu to hade no hwe morokodo ohwe nkyekira nananum de kyerkyere ni bia yesre do obi yentase mesrentase am obi biaro mobi bia yentase dama nananum donsu kwa wodi bibi papoyi no dama na yesre de ya betena dwumazi de ya bete efiri de ma bibi pamfimi mbra nananum yesro womboa na bibi pamfimi mbra yeni anema wa ba apete wiasa afane na yesre won kan won ho wombo won wonzu wenyim no wombra fie wonzu wenyim no wombra fie wonzu wenyim no wombra fie womboa na bibia wo ye bia ye womboa na bibia wo hia mo wetum we boduru fie bia mbwe akwan bwe bia wo hia bia mbwe nanan won kan won chechere me yen wie firi won ka kan me yen yim won chere mo de ye hu won yin chere yesre de ye bokodo ni yen yin ni ador wasase do eni ya mo nsa amen 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 that was the libation. All I did was to give praise and thanks to the Creator and to the Mother and all the powers that be and all the forces that the Creator had gathered around us to ensure that you and I come into spirituality. I prayed for our brothers and sisters that are scattered. I pray for everybody watching, that as you watch, may you grow from strength to strength. May you know things that you are to know, things that are to be revealed to you. May you receive the revelations, and may your life never be the same, because you are tuning into spirituality. You are tuning in to listen to the voice of our fathers. Continue to remain blessed. Continue to stay under the protection of our fathers. And may you never be found wanting. This is what I said in the prayer that I did through libation. Aquaba. Welcome to Spirit Friday. I get excited. Listen, I get super excited every time I get a chance to come your way. And I want to welcome you to this Friday, Spirit Friday. I know without a doubt it's going to be a blessing to you, because every time I come here, it's a blessing to me as well.
This is the beginning of our exhibition on the Africa collection of the World Museum. That is basically what we try to do. And we asked ourselves the first question, so how does the museum collected all these beautiful artifacts? And we found out that in the 19th century, when the museum was created, it was founded in 1885, there were some big Rotterdam merchants who traded with Africa. That was not common, because most traders in Holland traded with Indonesia, but there were a few that traded with Africa. And they specified that trade on 4 countries, basically: Ghana, Liberia, Congo, and Mozambique. From those 4 countries, Congo was by far the most important around the time that we start this story, so around 1885. That was the time that Stanley went in the interior of Congo to do his exploration, that King Leopold finally created the so-called Congo Free State, starting a very difficult time for the Congolese. But a lot of Europeans went in the interior trying to make a buck. And this is, for instance, a rare example of a Dutch trading company run by 2 brothers from Zwolle in the east of the Netherlands, Termeulen. So these are the 2 brothers, Jan and Pieter. And this is another Dutch official, we don't know his name, and they have an African staff. And some of them we know, like for instance, this is Mr. Huidekoper, which is a very old-fashioned Dutch name. Because there were Dutch people were living on this coast for centuries, and there were mixed marriages. So there are quite a number of Ghanaians with Dutch surnames. Oh, interesting. The mayor of Accra, for instance, is named Van der Puyen. So the objects that you show here are all from Liberia. So this was all taken from the coastal area where the contact between Europe and Africa was very intense. This is the royal house, almost, so to speak. Again from Ghana. And Ghana has a very rich history of important kingdoms. The Ashanti kingdom in the interior, the Fanti chiefs on the coastal area, and royalty and big chiefs had status objects to show their importance, and stools and chairs and thrones were a very important element. So in the last element we show examples from Mozambique, so on the east part of Africa. Again, there was an East African company founded by these same kind of merchants, and again they traded with the local population. This whole room is filled with objects from the Congo, again. but this is a very rare collection. We have in all these small niches are power figures, and power figures are objects, figurines loaded with a magical substance called bilongo, and bilongo was created by a priest and was added to an object, and then he made songs and incantations and prayers to give his power to the figure, and that helped the client forever what he needed the power for. So maybe to cure an illness, or to protect himself from evil in general, or maybe to encourage his trade even, you know, very simple things. He has a feather costume made of feathers of 4 different birds, and that is also because birds are connected to the spiritual world, you know, because they fly away in heaven. And so the idea is that a spirit would feel comfortable in the context made of feathers. Yeah, this is the musical section, and this starts, in fact, the second part of the exhibition, where we try to show the diversity and richness of African culture.
Let's dive straight in, and I want to do a quick recap. To where we got to the last week. I want to continue with the lessons that I started last week. I think I got to the macabre field, and I want to just do a quick recap that we continue to what we have today. I remember telling you last week, you always have to remember that you are a channel between the heavens and earth. What we call the macabre field, that you should always remember that you are a channel between the heavens and the earth. When you understand this principle, you would always know that you can always connect to that which is higher above you, because your crown is the satellite that receives and sends signals or information to the dimension. So you are constantly in communication with the divine, in communication with higher power, but probably you just don't know it yet. So you let things slide and you let things be the way they are. But if only you would wake up and understand the fact that you are a channel between the heavens and the earth, you would never feel alone, and you would always know to connect every time you are in any type of situation that you need the divine counsel.
Your brain is not only a producer of thoughts, but a receiver too. Depending on what you tune it into, it will receive such information. Cosmic information is all around us. We are, in a way, pieces of this cosmic information. Everything is connected with everything else, and everything comes from the same source. You, the Earth, the galaxy, everything. The way we live our lives can steer us away from the cosmic purpose we hold in our hearts. That's why, sometimes, the cosmic intelligence can send us messages and updates to steer us back towards our heart's purpose. Sometimes these cosmic messages can lead us to revolutionary ideas and inventions the world hasn't seen yet. Anyway, we all get cosmic information from time to time. However, not many people are aware when these messages show up in their lives, and most of them get ignored.
And that being said, I'm not really much more into the desires, in the sense that when you try to make spirituality all about fulfilling your heart desires, it totally misplaces or loses the how should I say it? You lose the authenticity of your call or of your assignment or why you are here, because you move away from being here for a purpose into a zone where you are only thinking about self and become selfish. You cannot understand spirituality and be selfish. That don't work. If you know spirituality, and if you live in spirituality, and if you walk through the dimensions of spirituality, the first rule is to become selfless. Because it's not about you. You understand that it's not about you. It's about the assignment that is mandated for you to fulfill. The minute you become selfless, provision heads your way, because then the divine knows everything about you is fulfilling the purpose on your life and not fulfilling heart desires. So when you come into a place where I want to fulfill a heart desire, miss my heart desire, when your prayer becomes all about mine, limitations comes in the results that you get to your prayer. because you are all of a sudden moving away from the main frame of divine plan and divine purpose into individualistic, the individual's personal desire. When you become a blessing to a whole people, a whole lot of people, you are blessed eventually. But when you become a blessing to yourself, you are always kept behind the ladder. So always you need to learn not to be selfish with your desires, but be selfless in your prayer. So when we talk about a Merkaba field, you should always understand that everybody is not projecting the same frequency. Everybody must project the same frequency, but not everybody is projecting the same frequency. And it's simply because depending on the positioning of your heart will determine the sort of energy fields you build around you. When your energy fields around you is intensified and is very intense, a lot of things are not able to penetrate. So your energy fields becomes what? Your protective shields. Becomes your protective shield. So how thick or huge or wide your energy fields are determines what comes into your circle and what don't come. Two things that directly impact your energy fields is what? The feeling of fear and the projection of love. So you see, I didn't say the feeling of love, but I said the projecting of love. When your heart is filled with love and you are led by love and with love and you work through love, your Merkaba field is so wide and so huge, it protects you from miles and miles away. I mean, oftentimes people only feel that the Merkaba fields can only operate within certain feet. But when you understand spirituality and you go deeper into the things of the spirit, you begin to realize that your Merkaba field can go as much as 100 meters from you. It can travel that wide. So imagine 100-meter circumference around you. Meaning things will never get to you. So the more love you project, the more love you give, the more love you radiate, the wider your Merkaba field becomes. And the less love you show and you come into a place of fear and anxiety and troubles and constantly worrying, you would reduce your Merkaba field and it will come so close that it's just close to you. When it gets so close to you, you would hardly feel anything is happening to you. Before you can know it, it's already happened. You can never pick up energies around you. You can never pick up intentions of people. How intensified or how high or how wide your Merkaba fields become. The Merkaba fields is just a name. You understand? I think it's either a Zulu word or Soweto word. I said Soweto. Is Soweto a language? A Zulu word, one of the South African countries. So it's basically describing what some people will want to call your aura. It's basically describing what you have around you spiritually, your aura. So based on your heart and the projections and the meditations that you give in to will determine the sort of energies that you have around you. Everybody is born with a very high Merkaba field, so wide and so high. That is why when you walk into a room of a child, you will feel the energy all up in the child's room. Sometimes when you see a child, there are some children you can never frown around them. They are so lively and the energy around them affect everything around them. So in miles, the minute you see the child way from a distance, sometimes you can even see a child on the screen on TV and you just go, oh, the baby is adorable. Because children, majority of the time, have the biggest and the widest Merkaba field. But as you grow along in time and as you grow with age and as you begin to mature and allow certain things to interfere with divine intelligence and the divine flow, then all of a sudden you keep reducing your Merkaba field. So last week I was teaching you about your chakras, the 7 chakras. And I saw in the community, I saw our elder Malakia post an amazing picture there. So let me break down these 7 chakras, which is the 7 spirit, which is also has a connection to do with the 7 tribes. The 7th spirit of the creator is basically the 7 gods. That's a heavy one. But it's basically the 7 gods. The 7 gods are directly connected to the 7 tribes of the Akan system. Or any other. Listen, in most African countries also have 7 tribes as well. Some just don't know that they are 7. But when you count the tribes of your people, you realize that all true spirit-filled people have 7 tribes. 7 tribes. So you should understand that every single human being on the face of this earth operate in 3 major categories, or operate from 3 major sections or sectors or departments. The first place, and all of these 3 are in line with your chakras or your energy centers. The first place is the lower self, the base, which is connected to your what? Lower chakra. That's the base chakra. So these 3 selves, or these 3 belief systems, or these 3 departments of operation is all connected to the chakra. So we have the lower self, the base self, which is connected to the root chakra. So your lower self is connected to these 3 chakras, which is the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and the solar plexus chakra. Your lower self is connected to these 3 things. That is the lower energy. It's connected to these 3 things. So some people can operate from this level their entire life and never graduate to the next level. So the next level is the middle self, which has everything to do with your heart chakra. Your middle self has everything to do with your heart chakra. And then finally, we have the upper self, which has got to do with the throat chakra, your eye chakra, and your crown chakra. So it's got to do with what? Your throat, your eye, and your crown, your third eye, and your crown chakra. So that is the upper self. So we have the lower self, the middle self, and the upper self. Somebody is operating in one of these 3 all the time. It doesn't matter who you meet. It doesn't matter how old or young they are operating from one of these 3. And there's nothing you can do about it. There's not a single person on the face of the earth that is not operating from any of these 3. Some people have matured their spirituality enough to operate through all 3, which is something that every single person must do. But some people are just based on the lower self. So your lower self is that which connects you to the earth. Is that which connects you to the earth. That is why whenever anybody is sitting in a meditative state, they connect their root chakra to the earth. They make sure their root chakra is sitting straight all the way to their crown chakra. Because your lower self is what connects you to the earth. And you operate when you operate from this level, you always need to remember it's got everything to do with what is physical. Every physical sense is coming out of your lower self. So when I talk about physical, I'm talking about materialistic or materiality. I'm talking about feelings. I know a lot of people were expecting me to say, okay, your feelings is coming from your heart. No, your spirituality comes from your heart. If most people would understand what love is, they would know that love is more spiritual than it's just some feelings. Love doesn't operate with thought. That is why whenever you have thought involved, it has nothing to do with love. Love operates from the heart chakra, which is totally spiritual. So your feelings get supplied to your brain from the base, the root chakra, or the root self, or the base self, or the lower self. So every feeling that you have is coming out of your lower self, and your nerves collect that data give it to your brain processes it, then it becomes your mind. You start thinking that your processes releases this feeling, and you think it's coming from your heart. No. So everything that has got to do with physicality, sex, eating, sleeping, sicknesses, all of these things are connected to your lower self, your lower base. So the feeling of jealousy and hatred and anger and all these things is all coming from your lower base. It's not coming from your middle self or your crown base or your upper self. It's coming from your lower base. So once it's got to do it, because one thing listen, your entire body is coming from the earth, right? That is why the lower self is connected to the earth, because your lower self needs the earth to survive. Your lower self cannot survive without the earth. There's not a single person on the face of the earth that would survive without the earth. The dependency, the life dependency, or life is basically based, life on the face of this earth. So that's what I mean when I say life. It's based on what is coming from the earth. So in as much as your lower self sounds like very negative, lower self, that is what is giving you the license to operate in this dimension. Your lower self is what is giving you the license to operate in this place. So everything that has got to do with carnality, when we say carnality, means flesh, carnal, flesh. Everything that has got to do with feelings, tasting, sexuality, and all these things, materialistic or materiality, or the good things in life, all of these things is coming from your lower self. Oh, I want to buy this Gucci, I want to buy this Prada, I want to buy this Bentley, I want to build this beautiful house. These are all coming from the lower self and has nothing to do with your middle self or your upper self. So the feeling of hatred, all these things is coming from your lower self. So you need to understand that everything that is tangible, everything that you can see, taste, touch, feel, everything that is tangible is flowing out of the lower self. So man's spirituality, before you come into spirituality, you need to learn to master your lower self. You need to come to a place where your feelings does not decide for you, but your spirit is deciding for your feelings, and your spirit is controlling these feelings. Now talk about spirit. Let's come to the middle self, which is your heart self, which is love, which is your spirituality. Your spirituality is that which is projecting from your heart. That is why I say everything that has got to do with the heart is not carnal, it's not in the feelings. Everything that has got to do with the heart is spiritual. That is the seat of your intelligence. When intelligence comes down, it comes to stay in your middle self. Intelligence does not go down to your lower self. Your lower self operates on memory. Your middle self operates through intelligence. So the things that are coming from here are not known majority of the time to a lot of people. That is why people cannot predict what you will do when you fall in love. That's what people cannot see. That's what you yourself cannot even predict, because it's not known. So when it comes to your middle self, you are always discovering. You're always knowing. You're always learning. And so long as you stay on the face of this earth, you would always learn about this middle self. So when you talk about spirituality, or when anybody wants to be spiritual, that person have to come to this place where your middle self is in control. You need the grounding, of course. That's what is allowing you to become a human being. You need the lower self. But you were already a being before you came into this lower self. You came into this flesh. You came into this flesh matured, but you lost everything. And now you are learning everything back So in your spirit self, or your heart chakra, or your middle self, nothing is new to this self. It's always there. Every data, every information, whatever you need to know is already sitting here in your middle self. So your middle self is now learning the things about the lower self, because the middle self has come down to the lower self. You don't have to allow your lower self control you. When you allow your lower self control you, that is when you are always finding yourself, oh, I shouldn't have done this. Oh, I regret doing this. Oh, I shouldn't have done it. Because you are basing your decision making on your feelings, which is your lower self, and you are not basing your decision making on your middle self, which is your spirit self. So there's a constant relationship with your middle self and with your lower self. That is why this popular phrase, the spirit, your middle self, is willing, but your lower self is in domination. When you say the spirit is willing but the flesh is weak, what it means is that it doesn't mean your spirit is strong but your flesh. No, what it literally means is that your spirit is taking control of your. What it actually means is that your flesh, your lower self, is taking control. That's why your spirit want to do certain things, but your flesh that is in control is disallowing your spirit to experience the things that it was created to experience. So when we say the spirit is willing, the flesh is weak, what it literally means is that your spirit is weak, your flesh is stronger, because your flesh is telling you, your spirit wants to pray, your flesh is saying, I'm tired. Which one is weak and which one is strong? Your spirit wants to pray, your flesh is saying, I'm tired. Meaning your flesh is making all the decisions. You get it? Your flesh is the one deciding. Your spirit is saying, no, today I don't want to sleep with anybody today. Before you realize, you are in a bedroom sleeping with somebody which is weak and which is strong. Your flesh is strong, your spirit is weak. So you cannot be in spirituality when your flesh is dictating for you all the time, when your lower self is dictating for you all the time. The only how you can start the journey of spirituality is when you train your spirit self to not be in control. So when your spirit self says it's time to get up and pray or meditate, you get up. You don't be like, oh, let me sleep for 5 more minutes. Anybody that does that simply means your lower self is in control. Is that not a contrast? Which one should be in control? Your lower self or your middle self? From the middle self, we come to the upper self, which is your crown, which is always in constant communication with the cosmos, the universe. So when you see the picture of the Merkaba field, you see that it is ringing down from the lower self and ringing up from the upper self. So your crown is what connects you to the cosmos, connects you to the universe. So the middle self has a constant communication with either the upper self or the middle self. So your spirit is not only in communication with your lower self, but it's also in communication with your higher self. Your spirit came from a higher self to dwell in this middle part. So your spirit is more used to the things of the higher self. That's why your spirit is constantly yearning for more, constantly hungry for more, constantly desiring. Your spirit will never desire the things of the flesh. Your lower self is that which constantly desires the things of your lower self. Are you understanding what I'm saying? This is the fundamentals. It's sad that a lot of people want to get spiritual, but nobody wants to really get through the process. Your spirit is used to your higher self. Your flesh is used to the lower. Your flesh is the lower self, but your flesh has a say or has a sort of influence on your middle self, but your flesh does not have any influence on your upper self. So the mediator between the two selves, the three selves, or rightly said, the two self, which is the upper and the lower, is your heart, your spirit self. So wherever you decide to push, when you decide to give a little push to your middle self stays in constant communication with your higher self. And when you are in this dimension, you can never do wrong. You can never go wrong. You can never decide wrong. Every decision that comes out of your mouth is solid because it is constant. It is in constant talk. It is in constant communication with the supreme self, the cosmos, the universe. Your lower self is constantly trying to drag this process down. This is spirituality. This is the expansiating of the self. So you constantly know there's a constant battle within yourself. So the devil, the demons, the evil spirit, all these things that we are so afraid and frightened about, it's happening within it's happening within yourself. It is not happening out there. Like I say this other, has anybody seen the devil? Say the devil, I think, is an attack. Where is that attack? The attack is within yourself. Because you feel it, which is connected to your feelings, which is connected to your lower self. So all these things that you call the devil, enemy, coming to attack me, that something is break, something is not allowing me. All is your lower self that is not allowing your spirit self, which wants to come out, which wants to be free, which wants to connect to your higher self. Your lower self is being a nemesis to your middle self. Because your middle self wants to be free and be in communion with. The only use of the lower self is for you to exist in this dimension. But your lower self does not got to determine or dictate how your existence in this dimension become. So there's a constant battle happening within you. There is a constant, don't ever forget it, there is a constant battle. That is why even your New Testament says, renew your mind, which is, your mind is connected to you. I say this and somebody will go, wait, your mind, which is your brain is tangible. You can see your brain. I mean, not your own brain, but you've seen pictures of the brain before. It's tangible. So your brain is connected. Your brain is connected to your lower self. How you use your brain is all determined by your middle self. So we have the upper self, which is connected to the cosmos. Your middle self, which is the intermediary between your lower self and your upper self. And your middle self is your spirit self. So now we understand that your brain is tangible, your mind is intangible. So your mind operates in two dimensions because there's an upper self and there's a lower self. So your mind operates with memory, which is connected to your lower self, and operates with intelligence, which is connected to your higher self. So your mind is always split into two. That is what people call your consciousness and your subconsciousness, which is actually don't make sense, because when you have to be conscious is when you are in tune with the spirit. But that is what we call subconscious, and we call being in tune with the lower self consciousness. It doesn't even make sense. But anyway, these are the terminologies they use. But when you really need to be conscious, it's not in your lower self, it's in your upper self. Do you understand? So you have to be consciously unconscious. Or let me say, you have to be unconsciously conscious. So you have to be subconsciously conscious. Exactly. So we operate, the mind operates in two dimensions. It operates in intelligence and it operates in memory. Memory is coming from your lower self and intelligence is coming from your higher self. The two are different things. So intelligence is different from intellect. Intellect is the capsule of memory. Intelligence is a live stream. It's alive. It's constantly changing, constantly growing, constantly advancing. Memory is what it is. Intellect is the product of memory. Intellect is the product of memory. You remember. So memory is always coming from the past, or intellect is always coming from the past. Memory is connected to the past. Intelligence is connected to the unknown, the future, into the infinite knowledge. Intelligence. So if you are seeking anything, you don't have to seek intellect. You have to seek intelligence. But our school system operates on intellect. That is why you cannot allow the school system to be the teachers of your children. Your children were born 2020. The next 20 years time, your children will be 2040. Your children will be 20 years old. So how can you be teaching your children the things of the past if they are already in the future? Let me say it again. If you have a child born in 2020, everything before 2020 is the past to the child. There's nothing you can do about it. So how can you train this child that is for the future? Because the future of the child is in the next 20 years to come that we haven't gotten there yet. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's in the next 20 years. We are not there yet. So how can you be teaching somebody of a future that you've never been? How can the school system teach your children? Because your children are in the now, going into the future. The school programs and the school system were written, some were written in the 18s, some were written in the 19s, and we are in the 20s. So how can anything written in the 19s be what you need in the 20s? Wait a minute, what are you saying? We all know it's a fact that the height of intelligence, the height of knowledge and all this is in Egypt, and Egypt is thousands of years ago, and the things that were done in Egypt is not being able to duplicate it now. Really? Really? The intelligence of Egypt is in the past. Yes, they started tapping into intelligence. They didn't operate on intellect. If Egypt ever operated on intellect, Egypt will not be. That is why they were able to tap into the future and do things and create things that the future is not even able to explain. So if your knowledge, intellect, is based on what was done in the past, how on earth are you going to access what is to come in the future? This is the significance of spirituality, because in spirituality we teach you, or I teach you, let me put it that way, I teach you how to synchronize with the things that are yet to come and not the things that are past already. Because in the next 20 years, I don't care what phone you are using now, that phone you are using now will be so archaic, your children wouldn't even want to use it. There are certain clothes that you used to wear 20 years ago. When you give it to your children, they'll say, this is so old school, old fashioned. Because the world is what? Constantly moving and evolving. Intelligence, not intellect. So anybody that wants to come into a place of knowledge, real knowledge, is supposed to come into a place of intelligence and not intellect. Because even science, the science that we knew 50 years ago is not the science we know today. Science is constantly evolving. So when you are teaching your kids the science of 20 years ago, it's not going to be the same science now. Are you getting the picture? Let me set an example for you. This is a mobile phone. This is a mobile phone. These are two mobile phones. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, this would be the bomb. This would be like, listen, when you were using phones, or 20 years ago, when you were using phones like this, you were on top of the world. 20 years down the line, nobody is willing to use phones like this anymore. Everybody is using phones like this. Now, how can you be teaching a child how to operate, how to work a phone like this, if the phone like this is not in use anymore? It means you cannot even teach a child how to operate a phone like this, because phone like this are not even, this is the iPhone 6. Now we have what? The 11. So you cannot even be teaching a child how to operate this phone. You need to teach the child how to operate the most current one upwards. into the ones that are not yet manufactured. Now, that's the problem, because human beings cannot produce or teach what is not happened yet. That is why intelligence is not taught by man. That is why you cannot base your spirituality based on what somebody is telling you from the past. Spirituality is constantly evolving, is constantly moving. The things that we used to do spiritually ancient times ago, the things that our fathers were using libation for are not this. Listen, now we can use libation for so many things and explain the science of libation. Now, when I can pour the same libation and use it for so many advanced stuff. I can literally pour libation and shut down an entire nuclear system. Libation. But that knowledge was not being operated, because first and foremost, the knowledge of the nuclear war or nuclear bomb system was not there 200 years ago. You know something? Was not there, or let me say 500 years ago. Was not there. Right? So when our fathers were pouring libation 500 years ago, our fathers did not have to deal with missiles and atomic bombs and atomic energies. Now we face that problem. So how are we going to use this libation to deal with the current problem? How are we going to use the spirituality of our fathers to deal with the modern problems? These things are not taught by intellect. These new things, newness, evolving, evolution is taught by the Spirit. That is why if you want to attain spirituality, it is not about just getting stuck. Yes, know what happened behind you, but move ahead into what is to come. Move into what is to come. The way our great-great-grandparents protected themselves is not the same way we are to protect ourselves today. We need to move, we need to evolve, we need to change. So spirituality is constantly evolving and changing and growing. But a lot of people are stuck here and don't even know where to go. Intelligence, intellect. Intellect connected to the lower self, intelligence connected to the higher self. Intellect, lower self, intelligence, higher self. Your middle self is the one that decides whether you climb up to intelligence or sink low into intellect. The choice is yours. So this is what spirituality is all about. Allowing your life force and your divine consciousness working together as one, meaning there's a connection between you as an individual and the divine being, the creator. You are not separate from the creative force. You are not separate. So you bring the you, which is your life force coming from your lower self, that's the you on the earth, to collaborate with your divine force. That's the you falling down from the divine. So the minute you come into awareness of your crown or your upper self or your connection to the cosmos, you would understand that the creative force flows through you constantly. This is beautiful. The creative force, the same power, the same force that created the entire world is constantly flowing through you. It's constantly coming down, communicating to you. So when you understand spirituality, you will know the significance of the you that you are watching me right now. Listen, you are so powerful if only you can wake up to the divine that is flowing. You are so there is not a single thing that you cannot achieve. There's not a single thing that you cannot do when you begin to awake yourself to work with the divine flow, the creative force, the divine creator. So as it's coming down, when you understand spirituality, all those in the hierarchy from yourself all the way to the creative bodies and the creative powers and force, that hierarchy before comes in line. You fall in alignment with that hierarchy. So when I'm born on a Monday. So when I begin to invoke Ajo, and I'm here on the earth, I'm connected to the Mother Earth or the earth power. When I'm connecting all the way up to Ajo, Ajo takes it all the way up to Amen. Amen takes it all the way up to the Creator. It falls all the way down to the earth. It comes all the way back into me, all the way up. Flow. So there's a creative flow. The minute this flow begins to continue, now you are producing a current. How fast this flow goes, that current that is you're producing in you becomes so charged and so turbified and so powerful. Now whatever you proceed, whatever you project, whatever you say out of your mouth goes out of your mouth with power, with force, with authority, because the current that is flowing is constant, it's moving. How do you generate electricity? When the turbulence, when you go to the dam, right, there's a propeller that is constantly turning, creating a current with a water force, and that is how you generate electricity, by the constant turning. So the Merkaba field, the constant turning of this field in you, connecting to the divine, flowing back to the earth, connecting to the divine, flowing back to the earth. Now you generate an amazing force of power, electricity, current in you. You can release this power, and you can let this power work for you to manifest anything you want to manifest. When I say anything, I'm not just talking about flesh and selfishness. No, I'm talking about divine purpose and divine assignment and the divine alignment. So next week, we are going to continue with communicating with a divine stream. How we really communicate with a divine stream. I hope today has been a blessing. I love you always. My name is Kojo Bento. Please, if you haven't hit the subscription button, subscribe to it, like it, share this information to everybody. If you haven't joined the WhatsApp community yet, please join the WhatsApp community. The link is in the description below. And don't forget, we are meeting on Sunday, and it's gonna be awesome. Don't miss Sunday for anything. I'll see you soon. I love you guys.